Hey everybody, this is Harold Todd, saxophone player with the Lenny Kravitz band, and you are with Jim on bass.
The Jim on Bass Show has teamed up with my new friends at Old Hillside Bourbon Company. I got two of my favorite bottles here, straight bourbon whiskey and the straight rye whiskey. So whenever you want to get on bass with that authentic Kentucky bourbon taste, make sure you visit oldhillsidebourboncompany.com, their social media, Old Hillside CO, or pick up a bottle at Bevmo and Total Wine, Old Hillside Bourbon Company. They'll always get you on bass. Welcome back to another episode of the Jim on Bass Show. For today's very special guest, we have on one of Lenny Kravitz's band members. He's known by music fans for playing a lot of saxophone, but also gets down with the flute, the oboe, the clarinet, and the English horn. He's been with Lenny for well over 20 years. Please welcome the great Harold Todd. Harold, thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Yeah, good to have you on. And I thought it was interesting. We were talking earlier today, and this is your first podcast ever that you've been on, right? So it's quite the honor for me.
It is. I am a little slow in the development department with regards to computer and new technology, but I'll get there.
Yeah.
With your help.
Yeah, well, it's great to have you on. And I was just curious, where are you right now?
I'm in LA. I'm in
Okay,
Pasadena.
nice. Yeah, is that your main residence now? Because I know you've lived in Germany before. I think San Diego, right? So,
Yeah, man, I've lived all over. I've been everywhere, man. Yeah, but that's where I'm residing at
awesome.
this time.
And I was looking at you. You kind of have the what do you call it? The chin hair going because you always have kind of some kind of facial hair through the years. You've had the goatee, you got the chin thing going. So, are you rocking that for the new tour that's going to start soon, or?
Inadvertently, I will, but we'll see what my hairdresser or my barber does with it, and
Okay,
I'll try to imitate that, and then it'll turn into its own thing. So it's a little bit
gotcha.
of a process.
Well, I was curious. Your nickname, I think, through the years has been Sax Pimp, right? So,
Sax with an X.
and how did that come about?
Oh, it was just a friend of mine and me were hanging out one night back in the 90s in the early internet days. And, I think we were just playing with some names and that one came up and we decided that it was funny enough to turn it into my internet address. And that was a long time ago. And it's been that way ever since. I just haven't changed it. Hmm.
Yeah, I think I even remember seeing you on MySpace back in the day. I think that might have been your handle. And I was like, that guy
Yeah.
looks like Harold Todd.
Yeah. Back in the day, that was a while ago. MySpace.
Yeah. Well, I am curious. So you said you're in Pasadena. So what have you been up to as of late in between albums and tours?
Well, I've been writing a lot, and just trying to stay healthy, trying
Mm,
to get my health together to get ready to go on the road. So and it's before the tour is coming up soon, so we're getting in shape to to fit all those nice clothes and getting my chops and my playing. You see my saxophone and flute back there.
yeah.
Getting we're getting well acquainted and starting to learn all the new stuff. And that's about it. Writing some stuff. I was writing some kind of out of the box kind of music and some stuff that I've kind of always wanted to experiment with. Some flute stuff, some electronic music, and trying to bring them together in an interesting way.
Nice.
So yeah, hopefully I'll get to share some of that with you one of these days. Hopefully soon.
Yeah, we're going to dive into it.
Hmm. Well, yeah, I'll definitely give you some stuff to leave you with. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I've been doing that and, trying to stay healthy, trying to stay positive, trying to stay, enthused and invigorated and, just excited, just trying, just staying excited.
Well, it sounds like you said, you're getting ready for the tour and rehearsals, and I was kind of wondering what goes into finding a good rehearsal space because you guys got a bigger band. I imagine that's kind of like a top secret location, right? You don't want people to find out where you're getting ready for the tour.
Yeah, when we're just rehearsing and stuff like that, it's not really a social, setting. It's more, business, thing. So it's mostly just us.
Mm.
the band people directly involved. And what goes into finding that, I'm not really sure. He has a staff that does all of that. So
Okay.
those guys, they find the spaces, and they've already loaded the equipment by the time the horns get in there. So
Wow, that's cool.
but so I'm not really in that process, but they will find one.
Yeah.
They'll find a good spot.
Well, last time you were on tour, I think it was like 2018-ish, right? So before
Mm,
COVID. And I'm
yeah.
sure there was probably a time I think we all wondered, will live music ever come back? And it's great to see that things are starting to get normal again.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, definitely that definitely slowed everything down a lot, And it was great. It was a blessing in a way. It allowed time for a lot of introspection, and
Mhm.
to, spend time with myself. I got to see what my true hair color really is. This is it. little gray around the edges, but
It's wisdom,
you
right?
we'll call it wisdom.
Yeah.
We'll call it that. So, at any rate, though, but yeah, that was a very trying time,
Mm.
and but we all came through it, and here we are coming back, and hopefully seeing you soon,
Yeah.
everybody, and yourself, and we'll get back to celebrating life as we do.
Yeah, definitely excited to see you guys on the road, hear the new album. And one thing that's always cool about you is I'm based in the Bay Area and grew up in the exotic city of Tracy. I don't know if you've ever been through there,
I
but
have.
oh yeah, okay, yeah, you grew up in the Bay Area, and I remember at one time you told me the Bay Area used to all just be the 415. Now you got 510, 408. So that's
Yeah, there's so many different area codes that I don't even know, them all anymore. But yeah, I was definitely back there when it was 415, and that was it, And LA was 213, and San Diego was 619. But
Mm.
as with everything, it's expanded greatly.
Were you in San Francisco or other cities around it?
Well, we moved to Berkeley when
Mm.
we first moved there in, like, 1900 and whatever it was, a long time ago. And we moved to San Leandro,
Oh
and
yeah.
that's where I started playing music, was in San Leandro. It was a wild and wild adventure back then. I didn't know what was going to come, but I kept hearing these people that I liked, and I was going to shows back then and seeing people that I liked, and kind of getting to school late and going and jamming out in the bathroom, and or wherever I could find some space. Teachers always knew where to find me, so they were never too upset that I wasn't where I was supposed to be. But yeah, the Bay Area was a very important part of my musical development.
That's funny. I stayed with my grandma for a little bit of time in San Leandro. She lives off of the Washington exit. I don't know if you
Oh,
remember that
okay.
area. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of remember there. I lived off of Estadio.
Oh yeah, that's an exit
Est-
too.
yeah, exactly. I think it's the one right after or right before Washington.
Yeah.
And yeah, I lived off of there, and on a street called Wanna.
Okay. Wanna what?
Yeah, I don't know. You wanna? So that was a great street, and a lot of great memories from that
Yeah.
place on that street. Hmm.
And I know you. I think you might have been living in San Diego at the time. I went down there. I think right around 2015 or 16, and I got to see you jam with your trio, right? And you guys put on a show. I still have your EP CD.
Well, good. We're
Yeah.
gonna have to put on some of that music later or something.
Yeah.
The NST, yeah, that one song, "Breaking Through." That was a
Mm.
great song. That was a good time. We recorded that when I was actually, I had been diagnosed with a, how can I put it, with a tumor
Oh wow.
on a part of my kidneys that we were not expecting. So I was dealing with that. And the day we recorded the album, the next day, I actually had the surgery.
Wow.
And so there was a lot of extra special energy that went into that recording, because, wanted, if it was going to be my last, I thought I
Wow.
wanted it to be a good one. But fortunately, I think I got a few more tries.
Yeah.
So
You got a mulligan on that
I got a mulligan.
one. Wow.
Exactly.
Glad to know you're doing healthy now then. So that's good
Yes.
news.
Yes. Yeah. They got in there and fixed it, and
Mm.
it's been good. So we're
Awesome.
good. Mhm.
Well, you mentioned growing up in the Bay Area, going to shows. So I was wondering, who was your first concert and where was it, if you remember that?
My first concert was at the theater at the university, Greek theater, Berkeley Greek Theater, the one in Berkeley. And it was Ronnie Laws. Ronnie Laws, I was a flute player at that time. I wasn't really that into sax, but people were trying to get me into
Huh.
playing the sax. So they were taking me to all these, people, and I got to see a lot of great concerts and a lot of great people. But Ronnie Laws was, he had a song called Pressure Sensitive. And I liked that song. And my dad took me to the show, and that was, my first show and first, up close and personal talk with a musician who had just
Wow.
performed. And I was just like, yeah, that's what I want to do. So thank you, Ronnie, Mr. Laws. And Hubert. Hubert was a big fan, a big influence of mine. Hubert Laws is his brother,
Okay.
very talented family, and so I owe a lot to those two in the area of inspiration.
That's pretty awesome because it must have
Yeah,
been special
totally.
for you then because I saw you, I think it was 2016, you played with Lenny at the Greek Theater and that was a great show.
Yeah, it was great to play there. Yeah.
And I was curious too about your music taste. Does it kind of range all over the place? Because I remember on one tour you had a cool, I think like a tank top. It was a Misfits tank top. So I was wondering
hmm
if you dabble in a little bit of everything.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I love it. I love it all. I love all music. I love some country and western. I love everything.
Mm.
And but I love good music. you know,
Yeah, there is a
but
standard.
yeah, I love everything, but it's got to be good. And yeah, but I live from everything from, as I say, from Bach to rock. I love classical music and Debussy and Ravel and impressionists, of that style. And I love jazz and of course rock and roll and reggae and everything that goes along with that. So you know,
Were you into the band Tower of Power at all? Because I remember they had good
oh
horns,
yeah.
Bay Area band.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was Lenny Pickett was a big influence of mine, and he played in that band for a good long
Mm.
time. And yeah, Tower of Powers, great group, great band. Whole lot of horns.
Yeah, and you mentioned liking jazz too. So, and I know you're probably dabbling in blues as well. But it makes me wonder too about. I talked with Jack Daly about this when he was on the show, and he had hinted me that Cindy Blackman, obviously she's a fan, but her husband, as you know, Carlos Santana, I guess he had like a special iPod, a Miles Davis iPod. So, were you into Miles Davis at all, or?
Oh yeah, definitely into Miles. I mean, being a saxophone and woodwind player, I was more, not more, but I was kind of more focused toward my attention toward John Coltrane.
Mm,
But I love Miles. I still love Miles. And yeah, most definitely, I got to see him a few times.
mm,
In my life, and he was definitely influential. But yeah, so many influences back then.
yeah.
Yeah, but Miles was definitely a big one. hmm
And just hearing you talk, it sounds like flute was your first instrument then, right?
Yeah, it's my love. It's right back there. See,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I start every day with a
Hmm.
little fluting, and then it goes over to that other big thing, and then it stays there for the rest of the day. But yeah, I love the flute it's a much lighter instrument, so you can carry it easier. And it's just been with when I want to work something out or something really quickly, and I don't have a lot of time, I can just play it on flute.
Hmm.
And basically, the fingerings are similar enough between the flute and the sax that I usually can transpose over without too much problem.
It makes me wonder. Do you remember that scene in Willy Wonka? Like, I remember it's the scary scene when they go in the tunnel. I think they play like some flute before that. So maybe wonder
I,
if that
re-
caught your
I
ear when you're growing up.
Willy Wonka was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. And ironically, when we recorded the album Five, we were staying in a house that was owned by the guy who wrote the music. I can't think of his name right now,
Oh
but
wow.
to Willy Wonka, and I actually got to look at the original score to Willy Wonka. But that specific tune or piece of music that you're describing, I don't remember it specifically, but I know that there was a lot of great music in Willy Wonka and
Yeah.
the Chocolate Factory. Mm.
Well, that's funny because it made me wonder what made you choose the flute. Because I read an interview you had done a while ago, and you said your band teacher said something like "Black boys don't play flute," and I thought,
Yeah, I got that one, at the time. I love the flute. Actually, I mean, I wanted to play the flute originally because there was a love interest that was playing the flute at the time. I'm 11 or 10 years old, so what can you
yeah,
do at that age? But I thought to maybe put myself in more direct vicinity of said love interest, and it worked. But I
yeah,
didn't I didn't expect that I would actually love it as much as I did, or have as much fun and enjoy it as much as I did.
mm,
And after she was gone, and but I still really loved playing music and playing the flute. And so I set off to try to become from the very go, a professional musician.
mm.
So, I just started training, and I've had some great teachers along the way, flute teachers, some great saxophone teachers, a whole lot, you know, moms and dad, taking me to lessons and stuff. So a lot of people invested a lot of time in me,
Mm.
but it was the flute that started it all off. So
Nice.
love the flute.
Do you still have your first one, or?
No, I don't think so. I think I can't even remember what happened to that thing, but might have even gotten stolen.
Mm.
Along the way, I've lost a few instruments, but but the one that I have now, it's a Pearl. I like it very much.
Nice.
It's cool.
Well, it made me wonder too, like so many bass players. I mean, I guess it's all instruments, but I've always noticed a lot of guitarists. They have so many different guitars that they feel like has a certain sound to it.
Mhm.
So does that remain true with flutes or saxophones? Like they
Oh,
have this
absolutely.
signature sound.
Absolutely. A lot of it is about material. The
Mm,
material that the instrument is made out of. Silver is a very popular material for flutes, resonates really well. Saxophones usually have a mixture of different metals, some brass, some silver, maybe some
mm,
gold, plating or something like that. And yeah, that makes a big difference in how they sound. And, everybody has their preferred sound, or their preferred, instrument that they like to play because it sounds good, or it's easy to play, or a combination of the two.
mm.
And yeah, so that's that one back there. That's Dinah. All my horns have names. That's
Nice.
Dinah, and Dinah was made in about 1961, I
Wow.
think, and it's a Selmer tenor. It's a special Selmer. It has a four-number serial number, 4-digit serial number, and for some reason, the horns that were made in that period have some special magic, and that horn has a special magic, and I love it very much.
Awesome.
I'll be playing it this year, hopefully when I
Okay.
see you,
Yeah, definitely.
see all the people out there. So yeah, man.
What makes me think one of my favorite Lenny songs to hear live is Fields of Joy, and you always do such a great job playing the flute like on the intro, so it's such a rocking song.
Hmm. Yeah, sometimes that original part was played on mellotron,
Mm.
so which is actually kind of like a flute song sound played backwards.
Oh.
So, whenever I play it, I have to think of, I have in terms of like producing a sound that sounds like a flute that plays backwards.
Wow. It's almost like dyslexic in a way.
It is, sometimes, I get paid to be dyslexic. So it's great. Music has been good to me.
Well, we spoke a little bit about the upcoming tour and the album. So, do you kind of use this time to kind of get the biceps bigger and get the pump going? Because I notice you get ripped before certain tours.
Yeah, definitely. Use like I mentioned earlier. That's what we get. This time before we get ready to go out. So we usually go in the gym and
Mm.
kind of lose a little bit of that That extra that we have accumulated writing songs in the studio. You're not really, it's a pretty sedentary
Mm.
thing. So, but yeah, so, I don't know about getting ripped, I'm getting older, so there's no need for that. But, I'm trying to keep it, healthy, trying to keep
Yeah.
myself in shape and, just, so like I said, trying to stay positive and trying to stay motivated.
Mm.
That's at this stage of the game,
Yeah.
the most important thing.
Well, it makes me wonder when you guys are in there, are you just doing what you know, or do you get your own trainer if you want it, or how does that all work?
Both,
Mm.
I mean, I know a little bit about training. I ran track, my whole life, so
Mm.
basically, have that background. And there are trainers around, and of course, Lenny is very into fitness, so he's always inspiring.
Yeah.
If he can do it, hopefully we can do it, and so he's a great inspiration in that way.
Yeah, it makes me wonder when you're playing sax and
Mhm.
flute and you're using your lungs before you go on a tour. Does getting the cardio up help with that, or because you've
Oh
been playing
yeah,
your? Okay, so it
yeah.
does help.
Cardio's good for everything. I mean, in general,
Yeah.
that's why it hurts because it's the stuff that's good for you that hurts. But yeah, cardio is always good for you. I'm asthmatic, as a matter of fact, so
Oh wow.
I it's kind of a good thing for me to have something that exercises my lungs in that
Mm.
way. So
Yeah. Have you ever had like a flare up then, like before a
oh
show, or
sure. Sure. It happens. I have this rescue inhaler. A lot of you've seen me with it. It's this little thing.
little albuterol?
Little albuterol, never hurt nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you see me flailing on the ground, just get my inhaler.
Yeah.
I'll be okay. Yeah.
I'll jump into action for you.
There you go. And I'll play the theme music for you
Yeah.
after I get back up.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it makes you wonder before you go on tour, as you know, you can be on tour for 6 months, a year, intermittent time periods. What are some like big checkoffs that you have to handle before you leave for a very long time?
Well, as you might imagine, pay your bills, just get your ducks in order.
Mm,
Basically, it's some time, to get your ducks in order because it's hard to do business when you're overseas.
mm,
It's hard to do business, when you're long distance. So yeah, try to get all your ducks in a row, get your business together, and you
yeah.
know, so you can focus on being funky.
And speaking of funky, you guys always have really good outfits. It seems like for each tour, you kind of have a theme look maybe going on. So, are there any good outfits you're ready to rock, or have you gotten that far yet?
We haven't really gotten that far yet, but I mean, I've seen, some of the things and kind of the direction that, that the clothes seem to be going. And it looks, they look great, it's very stylish, our boy,
Yeah.
Lenny. He don't mess around when it comes to style.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be stylish. I don't know exactly what I'm gonna, be rocking this year or this
Okay.
tour, but you know, I'm looking forward. It'll be
Yeah.
fun. I'm
And
just
when
trying to get it together so I can fit in those nice clothes.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Well, what's the bus life like? Because I don't know if you remember, but I won a contest right out of high school, and me and
Mhm.
my dad got to go on tour with you guys for a
I
couple weeks.
remember.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was cool. So we had our own bus. So
Hmm.
do Lenny and Craig kind of have their own bus, and then does the band get divided up into different buses, or how does that all work for you guys?
Well, I mean, you know, um, obviously, Lenny, has is the most, responsibility. So he needs to be the most prepared.
Hmm.
So, so he has a bus, with Craig and maybe, some family members or something like that. Usually has or the manager, not, and then there's us, the band, and we usually travel together. But at any time it's interchangeable. At any time, I mean, you can find anybody, Lenny on our bus or us on his bus, or
That's cool.
or whatever. Yeah, no, we're a very tight band, and it's a good thing because we're with each other a lot. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, but it's fun.
And it made me wonder too when it comes to touring, like during these gaps in between albums, like are you allowed to tour with other bands? Like how do you kind of manage that?
It's a little, bands like they say a band is like a marriage, it's like a relationship. And, it's kind of hard to be in two places at one time,
Yeah.
so to speak. So it's really hard. I don't, do it very much. I mean, except for, as a favor maybe, or just, as something fun.
Hmm.
But, it really wouldn't make sense, or it wouldn't be too practical to try to, like, to take another tour or something like that while tour is going. you know.
Well, I was kind of wondering, like, when a tour's not going, do you kind of still have to be available just in case he's like, "Hey, I got a private gig here, or award show, or something like that"?
Right. Well, he's pretty flexible. I mean, and like I said, usually it doesn't lend itself to like a whole tour.
Mm.
So I mean, but he's, I mean, as far as what we can do, we're pretty much free to do what we can.
Mm.
But obviously, we're a family, we're a band, so I try to be, and I have been available, you know, for the last 30 years, when
Yeah.
we come. So, but I get to do some stuff and play with my friends, play with some
Okay.
people I know. He's really, no problem with that.
And it made me wonder too. Do you have like a pre-show routine, or do you kind of have a method of getting ready for the night?
Well, obviously, being a saxophone and a woodwind player, have to warm those babies up.
Mm.
So I'll do a lot of scales, and some exercises to get the fingers going, as well. Some push-ups and some physical activity to get the blood flowing, to get the energy going. And but yeah, those things of that nature, kind of warming up, getting in the mood, getting the vibe going, you
Yeah.
know. hmm
And when you kind of exit the stage, sometimes you leave in between songs, like once your part is done.
hmm
Are you doing some of that still, or are you just kind of watching? Like, what do you like to do?
Yeah, that's like an old, jazz man's, kind of thing. It's just like, you play your part and you know, elegantly, gracefully exit when you're done so
Mm.
that the attention can be returned back to the front man.
Okay.
So that's why we do that. It's just it's just an old throwback to the 40s and 50s when, the guy on the front of the stage was, is the focus. So, we kind of exit stage left so that you guys can focus, on
Huh.
him. So that's what that's about.
And you've played so many different venues, whether it be theaters, outdoor places, stadiums, arenas. Do you have like a favorite venue that you like to perform in? Anything pop out or?
I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't have a favorite that I can think of. I mean, there's some places that I'd still like to play, like the Hollywood Bowl. I haven't
Mm.
played the Hollywood Bowl,
Okay.
so I'm still hoping to play there. So, if you start a band, let me know, and maybe we can get a gig at the Hollywood Bowl.
Yeah, I'll start warming up my drum set.
Do it, do it.
Yeah, have you played Red Rocks or the Gorge? Those a place I want to go
Sure.
to.
Red Rocks and the Gorge, I played them both and they're super beautiful. Red Rocks, unfortunately, when I played there, it was not quite far into the spring, far
Mm.
enough into spring. So it was still cold, but it's a beautiful place and it sounds great. And it was really fun to play there. And the Gorge was also really big, really beautiful, great time.
Okay.
Great, beautiful place.
And
Yeah.
you mentioned getting in shape. You were an athletic guy, so you ran track. Any other sports, or were you a big sports fan at all growing up? Or
Not so much. I was more into music, but I did
mm,
run track and field. I was a track and field enthusiast ever since I was 8 years old. And, I placed in the top three in California State
wow,
track and field meet in 1981, which is when I graduated. I thought I was going to go the Olympic route. I also went to UC Irvine,
okay,
by way of scholarship. I ran for UCI for 4 years,
wow,
3.5 years, 4 years, whatever it was. And but then music, something happened, and I just was not track was not my focus anymore. And I put everything into all my attention into music, and I started getting gigs and started working, and it just seemed like that was what the good Lord wanted me to do
mm.
was to play. So I played, and I'm still playing.
Yeah, still going.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I know you played. You probably spent time in many bands, obviously. But I know one of them was Common Sense, SoCal reggae band.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
did that kind of set you up with like how you joined Lenny? I was curious what your story is, of because having Jack Daly on, he told me how he kind of auditioned and made the band. Like, what was your kind of story?
Well, it was a long time ago, so I have to like really think uh, how that happened. But yeah, Common Sense was a very integral part of my musical history and career. I was working at for First Interstate Bank at the time. And Nick Hernandez, is the leader of the band, came into the bank and asked me because they needed someone to fill a part if I could play with him. And I played with him for the next long, long time. And yeah, that's how it was through playing with them at a gig in San Diego that let me see if I want to tell it right in San Diego, and I met Andy, aka Gray Boy, DJ Gray Boy. So I met DJ Gray Boy, and he and I, we hit it off. And he was working a lot with some other famous people and some other great musicians, Carl Denson, and
Mm.
a whole bunch of people back then. And I started working with him, and we produced 3 or 4 albums with him. A lot of people don't know, but I'm an old original member from the Gray Boy All Stars. I was back there in the beginning days, but they went on to much great success and acclaim. And Carl Denson, great
Yeah.
musician, he asked me to substitute for him, and I did. And then just how things progressed. His project was doing one thing, and I guess Lenny just asked me to stick around and if I could a little bit and cover the part. And long story short, it's been 30 years and I'm still here, and everything is it has been a blessing. It has really been a blessing.
What made me wonder, were you a fan of Lenny at all? Did you listen to his stuff or before you joined?
I had heard "Let Love Rule," because it had a sax solo in it, so
Oh yeah.
I knew "Let Love Rule," and I also had some friends in common with him, so I knew of his music. I knew a few songs. I knew "Sister," and
Mm.
I knew "Let Love Rule," and those were the two that started it off. And when I joined the band, it was right around to the end of "Are You Gonna Go My Way," so I learned all the or the beginning of "Are You Gonna Go My Way." So, I learned all that music. And from that point on, I was
Yeah.
just, studying and learning and playing.
Well, one of my favorite moments for concerts for me was the first time I got to see you guys. Was I got a Christmas present from my dad to see you open up for Aerosmith in Oakland at the arena, and I would just remember if you remember that because you guys played a great set, and then there was like an hour, maybe even longer break because they were flying back from the Grammys, and
Mhm.
there was a delay. So I'm just wondering if you remember that show. It was a pretty epic one for me.
I don't remember that one in particular. I do remember touring with them, and that was great. Stephen was super nice to me, and the whole band, and I do remember the tour, but I don't remember that particular gig.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, it's kind of a
sorry.
funny one. But I remember, yeah, Trombone Shorty was in the band, so
Mhm.
got to be kind of a cool relationship to have through the years. Fellow
Absolutely.
hornsman.
Yeah, yeah. He's been with us at various times,
Mm,
and he's just a great young man, great musician, big fan of his.
awesome. So as you know, when it comes to being in a band like this, is there kind of always an understanding that there's pretty much going to be an album every 5, 6 years?
Oh, not necessarily.
Okay.
Lenny's got a serious work ethic, so he's usually planning something, even before one is done.
Mm,
So he does have a really serious work ethic. So that's just the way it has worked out. But no, there's nothing specified,
oh,
that
okay.
it's going to happen like that. Mm-mm.
And when it comes to the recording process with the Lenny band, what is that kind of like? Because I know Lenny has the songs in his head, he plays a lot of the instruments, and then he
Mm-hmm.
has his like kind of compound in the Bahamas, right? So do you kind of go there and hang out when you record, or how does that all kind of work?
Yeah, I mean, there's various places that we record, some places in LA, some places, so, obviously his compound that about in the Bahamas. And it's just when he's like I said, he's usually got something going, and when he has an idea that he needs some horns for or something like that, then he'll ring me up, call
Okay.
me up. Or, if he's got an idea for something like that, maybe he'll share it with me and, we'll get together maybe and work it out. It's usually a, he has an idea and he has a lot of ideas. He's a very creative person. So, I just try to be available to him whenever he calls for me. It's an honor.
Yeah, and when he does call for you, are you able to influence how the sax pieces go, or does he kind of have an idea? Or are you able to influence at all, or how does that work?
I think it's both. If he has an idea, I try to make it, as close to the idea, or try to with maybe develop, the idea with the in the direction that he's going. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So it's collaborative, but he obviously, he has the final say on how a horn line will go. But like I said, he's really creative. So 9 times out of nine, he really already knows how he wants it to go. So I just, give it to him with that extra little sauce on it.
Yeah.
And,
Put the sax pimp sauce on it.
yeah, so to speak. And it seems to have worked for the time that I've known him, which has been about 30 years. So yeah.
Nice. And through
Hmm.
those 30 years, you guys have had some really cool collaborations. And one that popped out to me, you guys played with James Brown. I think Papa's Got a Brand New Bag.
Hmm.
So was that pretty special for you? Were you into James Brown growing up, I imagine, or?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, that was incredible because I mean James Brown and
Yeah.
my parents were both alive at the time, so they got a
Wow.
kick out of it, and I got a kick out of it, and it was just that was just a wild gig.
Mm.
I'll never forget it. Because James gives you that look, and it's if he gives you the other look,
Yeah.
$50. So
Yeah,
he didn't charge me that day, so I guess it was okay.
that's pretty good.
Mhm.
Has there been any other big moments being a part of this band for you? Like, because as you know, when you're at a Lenny show, you never know who's going to pop up backstage or,
Yeah.
collaborations you've been with. So, anything come to mind? Big moments for you?
Well, I mean, it wasn't so much a big moment, but when my daughter was young, she went on tour with me for first 4 years of her life.
Wow.
She was touring too, and it was great. We had a great time, and but one time we were playing, and I believe it was in Atlanta, and Elton John
Wow.
was on stage, and he was off to the right of where the horns were sitting, and I had Sarah, and Sarah was standing right there, and I just was trying to keep her entertained, and Sarah's my daughter, by the way. Elton took it upon himself to grab Sarah and sit her on his lap and
Wow.
watch the show with him. And I thought that was really cool. And I was just like, man, who wouldn't, what
Yeah.
most people wouldn't give to hang out with Elton, and she has no idea who this guy is, but I got a kick out of it, and I thought it's like, wow, Elton actually helped me watch my kid. That
Yeah. He's a
while
great
I
babysitter.
while I was at work, he sure was. He sure was.
That's great. So, how old is your daughter and what's she up to? Because I know of your sister, Valerie, in San Leandro and your niece and
Hmm.
stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, but it's Sarah. I think is 30 years old. Not proud of this, but I missed her first birthday.
Uh,
My first year playing with Lenny. So yeah, she's 30, and now I have a granddaughter too. So
wow. So, you're doing the
yeah,
grandpa life.
yeah, yeah.
Wow. That's
It's
cool. How,
great.
how old's
It's
the grandbaby?
Oh, she's 3, so
Nice.
she's a little thing.
You're a
Oh
pretty
wait,
cool grandpa to have then.
I like to think so. I think she thinks so. We have a good time together.
Nice. And
Yeah.
what does your daughter do? Is she into music or is she kind of doing something else or?
No, she's not musical. She's kind of working kind of in law enforcement, I guess you would say.
Oh, nice.
She lives in Alabama. I'm from Alabama, so she went back home. So
Okay.
she's in Alabama and she's kind of working with law enforcement.
Wow.
She was a dispatcher for a while, and you know, she's doing good things.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, it makes me wonder too, when you're in between tours and albums, how much does the band keep in touch? I know you guys do your own projects and things. Do you kind of keep in touch, or how does that kind of work?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm in touch with those guys, semi regularly, not all the time, but yeah,
Yeah.
we stay in touch.
Because I thought it was pretty neat about you. You've had different drummers, background singers, bassists. You've been kind of one of the main staples. So why have you chosen to stick around? What makes you stick around?
Because he asked me to, and it's a job.
Yeah.
It
Good gig.
is. It's a good gig, and so and the music is fun,
Yeah.
and the people are fun, and I'm at that stage in my life when it's really important for me to
Mm.
do what and with whom I like to do, So I mean, just they're my kind of people, and we work well together. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
was thinking, I think you're the most tenured band member besides Craig Ross, right?
Well, there's me. I think George, the
Oh,
keyboard
George
player.
Black.
Yeah, he came in the same year that I did. I think so. I think he was actually a little before me.
Mm.
So yeah, so Craig and George and myself, I think, are the longest, and obviously Lenny
Yeah.
are the longest members.
The OGs.
Yeah, we're the OGs.
And one of my favorite memories of you is when you get to come to center stage, like especially during songs like Again. I remember back in the day, you'd come out, get the
Hmm.
sax going, the crowd would start waving along. So do you like those moments, or do you like being like back on the side? Do you like
Oh
coming?
no, yeah, no, I like soloing. I like coming up to the front. I mean, that's basically what I like to do, and that's why I got into it. Is because
Mhm.
I like to entertain people.
Yeah,
And you know, it, so I always love it when I get to come to the front. Because it's brief, but I get to come up there and just share a moment with the audience.
yeah.
And that's really special. It's always special.
I've always wondered how you haven't blown out one of Lenny's eardrums because he kind of gets his head in there when you do the little fun interaction.
Yeah, I think that all of us are like part deaf,
Yeah,
because there's so much sound at all times everywhere, our
yeah.
whole lives. So yeah, I think he's probably a little deaf too.
Well, curious. So, what have you been doing lately, project wise? Do you have any new music coming out, or have you been playing shows down in LA or anything?
I haven't been doing too much show, playing. As I said, I'm kind of getting ready. I've been
Hmm.
practicing a lot, and I've been writing a lot. Since we've been off of the road, so I've been trying to put out or kind of get together a collection of songs, and I finally got some songs that I'm going to try to put out. They're all a little bit different than people might expect. Being a saxophone player for very prominent rock band and funk band. This music is more, kind of electronic and
Mm.
more a little jazzier. Not so much vocal, but more, flute. Not so much sax, but I'm not done yet, so we'll see. What comes
Nice.
out. But yeah, I've been just trying to produce some music and get something out. Get some things out before we hit the road, and hopefully I'll do that. I'll give you some
Yeah.
samples, and maybe you can put it with the podcast
Yeah.
here.
Definitely. Is
Definitely.
it all solo stuff, or are you playing with friends still, or?
Mostly friends, some people that I know. Just yeah, just mostly people I know.
Awesome. Okay.
But I know some really good people,
Yeah.
so so it's been really fun to work with them.
Well, what are you looking forward to most about the new album, the tour?
Just communing with people again, and getting together with everybody, entertaining, playing, making a joyful noise, and having people, be edified, and, fed and feeling spiritually gratified and spiritually, motivated. I look forward to seeing everybody. And, that's what I love to do. I love to perform. I love to entertain. So
Yeah.
looking forward to doing that.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking forward to it too. Looking forward to the new music, the tour. Yeah, a lot to be excited about, Harold. So this was fun catching up with you, and
Thank you.
hopefully we can do it again another time too. So
Anytime. My pleasure. Anytime. It's just been fun.
I'll see you
All
on the
right, my
road.
brother. All right. I look forward. See you
All right, man.
soon.
See ya.
Okay. Ciao.